Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Game Industry Executive Summary. This is Casey. We have the elusive Manu Rosier today and the dashing Dave there with us. How are you guys?
Well, how you doing?
It's all good, thank you. I'm trying to
Yeah.
do some technical work at the same time. I was like, let's just do it, and then whatever happens, happens.
Well, those are some well-formed ice cubes you've got there. Good, good big cubes.
Huge. Oh, no, I have two.
Well, it's no longer a cube, really. It's more of a rectangle.
Yes. Thank you. Trying to stay classy here. I think in the next segments, we got to have cigars. I haven't shown you my cigar collection. And also, I was lucky enough... Dave, do you smoke cigars?
I do not, as a rule, but I don't know. Whatever. I'm amenable to.
You look like a guy who might smoke a cigar.
Is it the beard? Probably the beard.
It is. But anyways, lucky enough, I was in Germany. Yeah. And we got some really good stuff. So hopefully next time, if it is possible, I will make you a cigar smoker.
All right. Yeah. Yes. Okay. I'll hold you to that, I suppose.
Absolutely. Manu, we missed you at Gamescom. Obviously, we had our podcast last week, so that was great. Today, we wanted to do like a Gamescom debriefish thingy at the same time as we do the news. Should we start with the news? For the people who are only interested in the news and our commentary on the news, we can start off with that. And then for those who are interested in hearing more about Gamescom and some more commentary about Gamescom, you can either just skip, I think, like roughly 30 minutes forward or such. But I'm very curious about the news, Manu. I was reading it, and I'm going to be in this mode today where I'm going to ask you, what is this and what is that? Because I have no idea, and I'm looking forward for you to explain these things, because I feel like I'm stupid today. Are you guys ready?
Ready to unstupid you, I suppose. Or just work around your oppressive stupidity.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. Okay, then let's start with the highlights. Now, this one is... I don't know what the thought process there. Manu, you have to tell me what's going on here. So, there is some SAG-AFTRA stuff. That's the Association of Actors in the US. And of course, we're talking about AI here. And then obviously, some of you might have already seen the comments from an Amazon exec.
Yeah.
Speaking about not needing actors, I'm sure it's one of those clickbait things, taken out of context situation. But please elaborate.
You're supposed to not. No. You're supposed to not be able to be taken out of context quite that badly, even if it is.
Yeah. No. When you read the interview, it seems like a statement that he makes. And I mean, everybody has his own opinion about AI and the benefits and the dangers of AI in the development of video games. I think you saw the second part of the sentence is a reaction from Christopher Judge, the voice actor from God of War, kind of obviously making clear that he doesn't agree with the statement, that there is no acting in video games. And for me, it's not seen very well from nobody, right? These kind of statements from an exec that's trying to sell video games. I think it's more about communication issue, I would say. Here there are maybe things that you should not say or not in that way, right? If it's understood that way, it means that there is a miscommunication. So it was more about that. I find it a bit funny to start with that. I'm not funny for that person, but I think we know how sensitive the topic is, and I think it's kind of a slap in the face of whoever is really working in voice acting and in video games in general. And then when you read what he's saying, he's also saying that it's not going to replace people, it's not going to replace creativity and human influence on games, but the reality is that it will, right? It's just some programs are going to be coded faster with AI, with less people. It doesn't mean no people, it just means less people. So I think I don't really see the point of that whole interview. I don't know if he was kind of trapped in a corner by the interviewer, but it feels really weird from me, from this side.
Yeah, I mean, good on the interview. It's always nice to see, but man, you look at those things and you wonder what, I imagine they've got dozens and dozens of employees in the communications department. Their whole job is to hope that some idiot doesn't say stuff like that.
But guys, if I may, switch a bit here, I'm very interested in understanding, how serious is Amazon about games? Do you know that?
They are serious about spending money on games, but they are not so successful in making money on games at this point.
So, obviously they have Twitch. They have, I guess, the Prime deals where you can get free games. I'm not sure if that's still alive or not. There was a period of time where they started up a couple studios, and then I'm not sure if they closed them down. They bought an engine, I believe, at one point in time. But are they, I haven't seen a game that says, you start up the game and it says, Amazon Studio or Amazon Publishing or anything like that.
New World was a big one, right? New World was a big one.
Which one? New World?
Yes, that was sort of their big marquee title so far. They got other ones in development, obviously, and other ones that have come out. But New World was definitely the biggest launch.
And there is another news linked to that is the cancellation of Blue Protocol, which is an MMO that was developed and launched currently in Japan, but it's going to be delisted in January 2025, and it's not going to release worldwide. So it's another attempt at...
So this is the game guys were talking about, New World.
That's a content dropper, something like most times.
Oh, okay. Now I see. Is this a good game, a bad game, a successful game? What can you tell me about this game?
It's not bad, but it died quite quickly, right? It was a lot of hype at the beginning, but then it's just kind of a single-player, multiplayer MMO, a lot of grinding. I don't think there is anything revolutionary in that. I think I played a few dozens of hours, and then at some point, I feel like I'm always doing the same thing, so there's not that much of innovation.
Yeah, it's a classic problem you got with those. It's the same thing happened with Concord, really, that you're gonna go into the MMOs are an extant category. People play MMOs. They're not bumping at the moment, but I think people who want to play their MMOs have their MMOs, especially this style of MMO, like World of Warcraft, still doing it. So you have to convince people to stop playing that game and play your game, and it just didn't have the juice.
Okay, so by the way, you brought up Concord. Thank you.
I did it.
Okay, so I'm sorry, first of all, but I'm also gonna say I love you guys. I love you both. I mean, you guys make my day.
Is that what you're apologizing for? For your love?
No.
Okay.
I'm apologizing about what I'm sharing on screen. I'm apologizing to the audience. I guess my question here about Concord, I mean, has the game released fully, or is it still in beta or testing phase?
Pretty sure it released. The fact that we're not positive doesn't help, but
we should figure that out. I think you're doing a research, and we can hear a lot of cool.
When you type in Concord release date, you get a date that has already happened.
Okay.
So I believe yes.
Interesting.
It's basically written on your screen when you look at the concurrent player. Release date 23rd of August.
Okay, because the last thing I remember was the conversation we had a couple weeks ago about the beta and the dwindling numbers, all that. It's a bit sad to see, obviously. I'm not personally surprised at all, but it's a bit sad to see that, because I feel like it was also launched a bit under the radar. And I didn't see a single thing about this game specifically at Gamescom either.
Because it's a Sony game, and Sony was not at Gamescom.
No, yes, that is correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna move over to the next item on the list here. And I'm confused about this item, by the way, Manu, but I'll let you explain.
I hope you've heard about Star Wars Outlaws, right?
There was a big booth.
That's the one with they got the speeders and the aliens. It's based off some kind of movie at some point.
Yes, and Ubisoft were really good this year at Gamescom by actually having a booth for the game. Or am I confusing it with another? Let me just, I'll double check, but I'll let you guys speak about this. So, Star Wars Outlaws players forced to delete save data on PS5. Number one, why is this a highlight? Number two, please talk about it.
I think first of all, this not every day you have a AAA Star Wars game being released, right? So I think it's notable enough. We are still waiting for the perfect Star Wars game. It's not this one. This one is the Ubisoft formula of open world games on Star Wars. It has, I think, like Metacritic slightly below 80, so it's not a bad game. But it's not really memorable. The other thing is, so basically they sold an edition with early access of 3 days, like good old school deluxe edition with early access. And apparently some players have been told that once the day one patch was released, they had to restart the game and they could not use their save game that they had done like for the first 3 days of early access. It's probably not a big population, but it's some kind of bad press. And I think what I wanted to focus here, it's the people that buy your most expensive editions. These are your VIP people, right? These are the ones that are going to spend $90, $100, $130 for the same game as other people. You cannot make them feel like it's a beta access somehow, unless you call it a beta access, right? But here it feels like it's a paid beta access for the early adopters, and you pay more for that. So I think it's not gonna help sell early access edition in the future if this happens. And then the other thing is, it feels like with some games, whatever the release date is, they always need a day one patch. It's never ready by maybe only a few weeks, right? But I think there is a tendency with these really big AAA games that who still wants to try them at full price, right? Or when they're probably going to be a good Black Friday item. It will be patched by then. It will be 50% discount. So I'm a bit puzzled. And I would say, just to finish this point, I'm also a bit puzzled about why they are releasing it now in a year where they have like a AAA Assassin's Creed, like a full new Assassin's Creed. There is no Star Wars things happening right now. It's not related to any Star Wars live content. So it feels a bit, everything feels a bit weird about this game. So that's just my feedback.
I was going to say, Manu, maybe we need to go back to physical games.
Yeah.
Dave, any comments about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's been a drum beat in a long time. Is that buying games at launch is a dangerous thing. The best argument is that it sort of gets you on with the zeitgeist, especially for multiplayer games. But that argument becomes a lot less strong with the single player game. And it's really that you just sing out of your seat to play it, but wouldn't you rather play it once it works? And that's a real tough thing. I feel these games are in development for 6-7 years, and then you feel like they need to do more almost all the time. Obviously, that's because you get the effect, the QA that only the public can do, and that kind of thing. But that's just a tough one overall. As to why they're releasing it, I do feel like there's a gap in between it and upcoming Assassin's Creed. I don't know what their financial calendar looks like, or if they're in the same quarter or something like that. If I had to guess, they're trying to juice numbers for a particular period. Also, what do they have going on in the winter? Because that can be competitive as well.
Apologies. By the way, if you saw me looking at my phone, there were two things that I was doing. I was looking for the Ubisoft booths, but apparently I haven't taken any pictures of the Ubisoft booths, because I probably didn't feel like they were interesting enough. The other thing is, I saw a score. Like I think it was like, I think it's the game is at like 60, 70, between 60 and 70 Metacritic. I saw Kind of Funny gave it like a 4 out of 10, which was like, a bit not necessarily shocking, but I was surprised. Is there anything we can learn about this game from a not necessarily a review perspective, but like why did it score so low? If you can, I'm not sure if Dave, obviously you're the writer here. I'm not sure if you had the chance to look at any.
Yeah, I've read some reviews, and we haven't played it, but so I can't actually speak to how well it scored based on whether the game's good or not, which isn't important. There's a lot of other stuff going on here too, right? So we do make projections as part of evaluation, that kind of thing. There's some interesting things happening at the moment. There was a while when things were much more in a pack. I was writing forums, things like that. It was more contained, and it was more expected that if a game got in a certain range, everyone was going to get it somewhere in that range. And that's really kind of expanded a whole lot. People are much more comfortable giving out those 4s out of 10s, especially bigger websites, much more comfortable going to 6 even or below 6. And people are just getting a little looser with it, which I think is a good thing for sort of critical reception overall. It's a difficult thing because of the place that Metacritic has gained in the industry and for consumers. So that's difficult. And I think you also see that with this kind of game, sort of, again, I haven't played it, but I've read some reviews. It's an Ubisoft kind of game. I think it seems like they have not made as much of a formulaic Ubisoft games as some of those Far Cry's hit, that sort of thing. But it's that. And games that are more predictable, games that follow formulas a little more closely, tend to do worse with major websites. Littler websites are more enthusiastic about it. Influencers are definitely more enthusiastic about it. But people that have played a billion games like this before, which are going to trend towards major websites, they're going to be less enthusiastic. That was a long explanation.
That's really good, Dave. And I was trying to interject here and there and ask other things, but I was muted, and I was like, he's not listening to me. What's happening? Dave, I have an interesting question about reviews.
Mm-hmm.
Have quote-unquote journalists started using the full scale of scores? Like, is that a thing as well that's happening, or am I just
Yeah, you're seeing that happen a lot more. For something on the scale of Kind of Funny, which is an interesting thing, right? Because there was a time when influencers just weren't a part of it, and Kind of Funny is the thing that sort of sits in between influencers and traditional media. They come from traditional media, but primarily it's a show and things like that. So it's sort of, it straddles things. But yeah, there was a time when going below 7 was a big deal. I mean, there was a time when going below 8 was even not all that common in sort of 2007.
I remember those days.
2000s. Yeah, everything. You were really looking at what's the difference between an 87 and a 92 all the time. So that trend has really just kept going. And now going below 7 happens all the time. Going below 6 even happens. And not just for... It used to be scores below 6 were reserved for true fuck-ups. And
right.
That's not the case anymore.
God bless him. You reminded me of Jeff Gersman just now. You remember that? What game was it? Kane and Lynch 2?
Yeah, stuff like that.
Was that GameSpot when he got fired?
Yeah, I think it was GameSpot. I'm not sure, but there was definitely a whole thing around it.
Oh, good lord, those were the days.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on then to the next item on the list here. Now we're gonna jump to the news. It seems like Manu is excited for the next item here. Balatro. So this is one of those, Manu. This is an example now. Who the hell or what the hell is Balatro? And then it says here, Balatro's free collaboration update adds The Witcher, Vampire Survivors, Among Us, and more.
I'm worried I've already explained to you what Balatro is a few weeks ago.
You might have. I apologize. Oh, yes, that's the card game.
Card game. Yes.
Thank you.
So, it's the card game. Very popular card game, right? But here I just want to highlight, as we discussed about.
So sorry, Manu. Dave. Your
my
keyboard. Your
okay,
keyboard is
yeah,
coming through.
excuse me. Okay, it's done. It's done.
Please continue, Manu.
We discussed about extra content, post-launch content, and that kind of thing also for indie games that are actually not live, in the sense that there is no multiplayer, there is no timed event and things like that. But this is another way. It's a bit like Castlevania has been doing. They're just adding collaboration with other IPs, right? So The Witcher, Vampire Survivor, Among Us. That's just to highlight that other games are trying that, and I think it's always cool. Let's put it that way, right? It might bring Vampire Survivors players to try Balatro. It might bring The Witcher players to try Balatro. Right?
Absolutely. I want to try it now. I want to try it now more than ever.
Yeah.
People warn me on this.
Worked. I should ask for a commission when I talk about it.
Amazing stuff. I feel like this. I'm not sure if it was Dead Cells that started this. Obviously, they did the Castlevania one, but I think this is such a great opportunity for indie developers to kind of expand their audience, find new ways to collaborate with other studios, find new ways of monetization as well. This is really great stuff.
Absolutely.
Okay, I feel like this should have been a highlight, Manu. But okay, I'll move on to the next item.
A lot of discussion about what is and is not.
Yes. Okay, next item. I think this is another one. I'm sorry about this, Manu. Foamstars goes free to play on October 4th. What is Foamstars? I'm going to click on this right now and figure that out at the same time as I'll let you explain.
It's a tentative Splatoon for Sony, for PlayStation. I think that was kind of the idea. Not very successful. So the thing is, it was free for PS Plus players. Didn't end up being very successful, and now they are going full free to play. It's very unlikely that it will move the needle, right? Because it was already kind of somehow free before. But I think it's just interesting to see when people are trying to come in competition with some Nintendo games, right? If it works or not. Like we saw some games trying to mimic Mario games, and here this one was trying to use the formula a little bit of Splatoon, and it doesn't seem to be working.
Is this published by Sony?
No, I think it's Square Enix, but it's PlayStation only.
That's interesting. Like, why would you make a live service multiplayer game? Well, in this day and age, yes, Dave. I would say at all. Yes, absolutely. I mean, obviously, you want part of that in full stacks of like cash that live service games produces, but on a single platform, it makes zero sense in this day and age.
Yeah, you're just shooting yourself in the foot. This is such a gamble overall. Like the question of why to make them at all is because it's a massive gamble with a massive payoff. But just increase your odds. Well, capture them, or if it was part of the PlayStation Plus arrangement, exclusive. Even so,
I'm trying to find if. First of all, just to confirm that this game is actually only on PlayStation. If it is, because Sony has the past 2-3 years, or part of their long-term strategy, like the live service. We started with the Helldivers. Now you have Concord, you have Foamstars, and some other titles, as they are trying to invest more in that area rather. Okay, I'll move on to the next item. What is this? Worldwide release cancelled for Amazon games. Speaking of Amazon, live service MMO Blue Protocol. So this is another Amazon game?
Yeah, but that is what I mentioned earlier in the discussion, as it was related to the discussion about Amazon. That's the game developed in Japan, initially for the Japanese audience, and it's been cancelled. It will be delisted in January, and it will not be even released globally. Initially, it was supposed to be released worldwide after early test in Japan, but they realize they are not going anywhere, so they're just canceling it.
Really?
Yeah.
So did they cancel it in beta or like in full release?
It's not
Do we
full
know?
release. I mean, it's available in Japan. I don't know what's the status exactly.
Just okay. This is Bandai Namco, by the way.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting. It reminds me a lot about what's the Hoyoverse game again?
Just looks like an
Mhm.
opportunity. Looks. There are ways in which it feels like an MMO, except that it's not an MMO,
Mhm.
and
Cel
it doesn't
shading.
seem like a real good place for them to spend some of their information.
Yeah.
So they did a test release in Japan, but then they stopped moving forward with the world, which is interesting. I actually am very interested in learning more about the game now. It also has a lot of Zelda Breath of the Wild vibes, in my opinion. But it looks very, very interesting. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next item then, my friends, and obviously stop me at any time if you feel like we need to discuss something even further. Next item on the news, PS5 gets another price rise in Japan, now costing £170. That's English pounds, more than at launch. So you're saying, not you, so that if I understand correctly, PS5s cost more today than they did at release.
That's the case for every country in the world. But it's the second increase in Japan because of the depreciation of the yen, basically. So it's more about that than anything else, I believe. And it actually goes against what we see in some other countries where I've seen promotion right now. If you buy a PlayStation 5, you get 1 year of free Netflix, for example. I think it's in the US and in Europe you have that right now. So it's kind of the opposite. And so that's interesting. It's not a great it's not great for the players, right? It's not great for the install base, but it's more related to the Japanese economy at this point. And what's also interesting, and it's part of the rumors, that we can expect the PlayStation 5 Pro to be announced very, very soon. So maybe they want to clear some stock in some part of the world. Maybe they want to prepare the arrival of the Pro in Japan by increasing the standard one, and maybe make the price difference between the Pro and the standard look smaller to sell more Pros. So there might be other things behind this decision, but I think things are moving with the PlayStation hardware in the coming weeks for sure.
Is there a release date for the Pro, by the way?
No, but it was an open secret at Gamescom, so I would expect to know everything about it.
What I'm confused about is I feel like it's early in the life cycle, or am I just like being stupid here? Because I feel like
Yeah, I think you are accurately saying that it's not early for the way this has always gone. However, it is. I do think it's early. I mean, if you look at the numbers of like Call of Duty or whatever it is, a huge number of people still playing on PS4.
Yeah.
And I don't know, for me, it's a tough argument to make. The biggest thing that you want out of like a new console, the biggest pain point of the current consoles is storage, which is easily addressable and not necessarily worth spending.
No,
So
I think it's gonna be a substitute for the enthusiastic players that will just pay more to get the fastest console, even if they barely see any difference. I think it's more about that than expanding the footprint of the console, right? Because there's no need at this point to be faster than the Xbox. That's not where the battle is happening. What I think is interesting is the Xbox is still stuck with the S series, right? They are still, and it's causing a lot of trouble for many developers. Also, now that more people are moving to the Unreal 5 engine, this is really becoming a bottleneck. We saw a few weeks, I think that, developers of Wukong or some other game, they say Xbox is not a priority, and also the S series is a bottleneck. So it's not interesting for us. We cannot optimize the game, or it will take too much time to optimize the game for the S series. So Microsoft is kind of stuck on the low end of the tech spec, but Sony is moving forward upward. So I think it's smart from Sony to do that, because then they can potentially in future game show that they have an edge from a technical standpoint. And I don't know, it feels like the S series is kind of pulling back the market at this point, and you should almost make the S series more of a streaming Xbox than anything else. And we'll see how it will evolve, and it will be interesting to see how Microsoft can turn things around in the way they present the Series S in the future, if they have to drop it for some games.
What's interesting here, Manu, is that if we go back in time when they were releasing the S and X, that was actually the correct strategy, right? To have and provide us like a bigger install base, one like targeted at a lower price to get the parents to buy it. But unfortunately, it didn't work out for them that well this generation. Dave, was there anything you wanted to say about this, or should I move on to the next one? Just gave up on that one. Okay. Next item on the list, my friends. MySims. I did not know this was a thing. But MySims is making a comeback on the Switch. So, what is MySims? What is that?
Let's Google it.
It's some kind of a Sims game that was on old Nintendo platform, portable platform like the DS or also the Wii back in 2007. And
it's cool.
Very cute.
Very cute. It looks like this to me, like a live service game. This is a lottery ticket, but it's a lottery ticket with the sort of a nostalgia feature.
Yeah,
I can see it working.
It does look very Nintendo-y.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was initially designed more for a Nintendo platform, so it makes sense from a design standpoint. I think why not? Probably didn't cost a lot to upgrade or to make it ready for other platform. I think it's not. EA doesn't have a lot of games on Switch. Doesn't have a huge footprint on Switch, so it's always good for as a publisher to have more games on Switch.
But is it a Switch exclusive, or it's available on other platforms as well? I'm trying to Google that at the same time.
I think if it was developed on PC, you probably can still play it, but nobody is, and it's more like, it's more designed for the Switch at this point.
It always brings me to a smile when I see the words Wii. Or if you guys remember that console or that era, which was very crazy. But okay, so the original MySims 2007 was released on DS and Wii. BlackBerry as well, for those who are BlackBerry fans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very interesting. I'm assuming EA in the current day and age would release this game on every single platform under the sun, but I could be wrong.
But it's going to be $40, so I think it's expensive. But that's just
Cool. That was actually very refreshing to read about. I'm going to move on to the next item, my friends. In the trends, Techland, shorter standalones like Dying Light, The Beast are the future of games. So what are we learning here, Manu?
So The Beast is a kind of an episode, extra content for Dying Light, but it's going to be, I believe, standalone, not part of a season pass anymore. It's more they realized it was an expansion that was so big that they could launch it as a standalone game somehow, right? In the same way that you've seen Far Cry launching half games between the big ones, between 5 and 6, and there were some smaller games. We saw that also with Wolfenstein, where they released some kind of standalone episodes for half the price or for $40. And
I was
I
going to
think
say, Manu, Valve, who are the pioneers at this, at one point with Half-Life, 2, episode 1 and 2, and I think, was there a third? No, was there a third episode? I don't remember.
no, but they were not standalone, right?
No, they were. Well, they were in the form of they would give you the base game for free, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. This was such a long time ago. But anyways,
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but you see, the idea is more because the AAA are so expensive. It's you can milk them a little bit more by launching a 0.5 version of your game at maybe less than half the cost of the initial game, right? That's I think that's the idea that you would yeah.
Well, I love it conceptually. I feel like I've wanted this kind of thing to become more standard in the industry ever since what were they, The Lost and Damned and the Ballad of Gay Tony for GTA 4. Very similar idea, but I do feel like there's a reason we haven't seen it uptake quite yet. I would love for this to be the future of games because it's a cheaper way to make cool stuff. You can spend less time making a brand new gameplay experience and more time making new things in that. But I do think it actually relates a little bit to what we were talking about with the PS5 Pro, that it used to be that you needed to deliver serious graphical upgrades every 2 years, at least every 4. But no one cares anymore. And so if this game doesn't look a lot better than what people played 2 years ago, no one could care less. And so I think that really frees people up for a lot more creativity and a lot better ways of using the tools they already have around.
I was going to say targeting the core audience is probably the smartest thing you can do as well.
Yeah, and because it's standalone, you can target the core audience while also going after a larger audience. So you lose nothing at the core. Again, I think I like it conceptually. It hasn't. I don't think we've seen this kind of model truly deliver yet, but I would really like to see more people. Maybe what was it? Phantom Liberty.
I was going to say Sony at one point in time were really good at this. If you remember, Infamous Dying Light, and then Infamous 2, something Blood or Night or something like that.
And Uncharted. I loved that Uncharted.
Thank you.
With his brother and girlfriend. I thought that was great.
And there was a Miles Morales also.
Miles Morales,
yeah,
which
of course.
Which, in my opinion, is a fully fledged game and not
but they built it using, to some degree using stuff they already had. So I just think that's great. Games
and maybe controversial, but I'll say it's the best Spider-Man game, even better than Spider-Man 2. But I'll let the internet decide here. I'm gonna move over to the next game, to the next item on the list. Now this guy. Seems like those who are familiar with Randy Pitchford, he has some cool things that did not stand the time. Yeah. I'm not sure. You let me know. So with Borderlands 4 set to ditch Epic exclusive. So Borderlands 4 used to be an Epic exclusive at one point?
Borderlands 3 was, I believe.
Now I see. I was going to say
temporary exclusive, but I think it's a good game. Yeah.
Yeah, Steam is not a dying store. I don't think I would say that.
I would say, if anything, Steam is in a better state than ever.
Yeah, I think Epic's attack on Steam I think it's an interesting thing that people across industry should look at, is that it just really shows the power of lock-in. And when it comes to libraries and not just libraries, but routines and sort of what you're used to, it's a super powerful thing. And if you want to get people off of the place where all their stuff is that they are used to using, you need an incredibly compelling argument. And for Epic, their best argument was they're going to give a bunch of free games, but that was only an argument for playing those specific free games.
Yeah.
I'm assuming this is not controversial to say, but I feel like Steam's approach is always down to earth. they're not speaking at their customer, if that makes any sense at all.
They're not speaking, generally speaking.
Well, they're not speaking. Yes,
they don't do a lot of speaking,
but they are doing everything in their power to keep players happy. That's my takeaway, at least. And I love what Epic is doing with the Epic Store. I think it's really important that we have competition, generally speaking, in any field. But I wonder, because I'm not a big, I go to the Epic launcher to play Fortnite or do some research, etc. And I haven't done that in a while. So you guys let me know if you've been checking it out. But I wonder if players are noticing the corporateness, if that's a thing, of the Epic ecosystem versus the Steam ecosystem.
I could see that. It definitely does. Epic is a larger presence on the Epic Game Store than that is on Steam. Yeah, sure.
Like Steam feels like, so if I would like compare it to real life, so if we go back in time when there were game stores, Steam is like, it feels like a mom and pop, shop that you go that sells games versus, if it's EA's old Origins or other like Ubisoft's old platform versus going to GameStop. And we all know GameStop's experience is terrible, just terrible. They treat their customers like shit. Not saying that these platforms are, but I'm just saying like the experience of going through the funnel and going through the experience, that's what might feel like. Okay, I'll move on to the next item, gentlemen.
One thing.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I wonder if we will see one day Fortnite on Steam. That would be just my final comment.
I
love that comment.
Surprised, but
would they even allow it though? Do you think? If would Steam allow it? Do you think?
Has Steam ever refused to publish a game?
No. Well,
I mean,
there has been some minor incidents with EA or other publishers, but they've ironed those out because the dollars at the end of the day they speak. But yeah, fair point.
And Valve doesn't have a direct competitor, doesn't have a battle royale game anyway, so it will be shifting the money from other from PUBG maybe. So it doesn't matter to Valve, right? They are just middlemen.
And PUBG is huge on Steam, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Really good example there. Okay, gentlemen, let me move on to the next item here, and I believe the next item will be Bandai Namco. 2024 will be the year of stabilization. Now, stabilization.
Like a provocation when we someone say copy say still.
So here's the thing, guys. I'm assuming I haven't read the article, but I'm assuming it's about the funding and the release of games, etc.
It's about their business and the fact that most Japanese studios have less been impacted by the post-COVID hangover. Let's put it that way. Also because, he's claiming they invested less during the COVID, right? It's not that they scaled up that much during the COVID as opposed to some Western studios. And it's just about that. I think it's interesting to have some feedback from big publishers, and I found it just insightful to see. And we have seen that, right? There has not been so many layoffs in Japan. Sometimes Western companies would close Japanese studios, but not Japanese publisher. So it's a bit different. And I think there's also, we've all heard about Nintendo that tries to fire as less people as possible and always find workaround, even when things are not good. So, we're just interesting cultural influence, maybe.
By the way, I feel like Bando. Sorry about this. Tired. It's 4:00. We usually record this in the morning. Bandai Namco, I feel like, is one of the smart publishers that sticks to their portfolio and has this understanding of, okay, these are the types of games we do. here's how we market them, here's how we sell them, here's who our core audience is. Would that be accurate to say as well?
Yeah, I think there's also the thing that, as mentioned in the interview, is that they don't only rely on video game revenue, right? They own IPs. Bandai does other stuff than just video games. So it can also serve as a buffer when things are not going well in the video game part. So I think that's also allowed them to be a bit more sober about what they do.
Any thoughts there, Dave, or do you want me to move on? Okay.
Move on.
Move on. I'm always, I'm always curious to hear what you both have to say, so that's why I'm asking. Okay.
Move on. What's the next one?
Okay, let's move on to the next item. So we've been talking about Meta, that they're shutting down some stuff, especially in relation to the VR business. But now I'm confused about this item, and I'm really happy that I have both of you here to kind of enlighten me on this stuff. So Meta just canceled its Vision Pro competitor. What does that mean?
I guess they're making an AR goggle competitor.
Yeah.
Is that inexpensive AR competitor? Yeah, that's interesting.
It means that they had an expensive model in the world, or a high-end model, and they decided to stop because it's not going to be profitable, probably, because they see that Apple is not selling, right? I think it's right now.
For these things, this is an enterprise product. If Apple's already got a foothold there, they don't make money out.
Yeah,
that's the best shot they've got.
It's
going to be real tough for someone else to get it.
Sorry, I have to ask. Is Apple's what is it called? Is it called the Vision Pro, or what was it called again? Yeah, is that thing enterprise focused?
I don't think it was initially, but I think it's going to become that. I mean, it was enterprise focused in that's how much it cost.
It takes $4,000 or $5,000.
The only people I've ever heard talking about it in excited terms are people who
it's
the next version could be cheaper, could be more accessible, whatever. This one seems like
it's certainly not a gaming focused platform because they don't have game specifically for.
You can't watch movies.
Yeah,
seems like I ever since VR became a thing, I've always advocated that it should be focused on movies. Like I should be, I want to be in bed and just be fully immersed in the movie, like as if I am in the movie myself.
But do you? I think that's the thing. A lot of people have.
I want to try it.
Yeah, people claim that, but I think that's a little thing that VR has really come up against is that people say that theoretically that's what I really want to do, but in the real world I want to have a steady dopamine drip coming to me through through my phone and wherever. Like focus is really hard, and VR does help with that.
Mm-hmm.
But if people are chilling out, they usually want to be able to look at Twitter.
I'm looking at their website, the Apple website, and I love that in one of the cases they had somebody in an airplane having the goggles on, just like completely.
Yeah,
like,
I mean that's cool. I'd do it. I would try that. But also, yeah, obviously,
completely shutting off the world and pretending people are not sitting. Funny enough, they had the person sit in the middle seat. They had like another person on the right and left. Like, what the fuck? No social communication. Okay, guys. By the way, when will we ever see the Matrix? Like, when will we see? Like, when will we see
it? Every day. You're seeing it right now.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, guys. I'll move on to the next item here. Let's see. PlayStation. Oh yeah, this one is really cool. I saw the announcement about it a couple days ago. But PlayStation has a MENA-focused, and they call it the Hero Project incubator program. And it's going to be, and focus on the MENA. They're going to try and support studios. But tell me, what do you know about this?
Yeah, that's not that much except what's written there. And I think it's not the first one. They did it in China initially. They also did it in India. So it's about, detecting the local talent, the local studio, and then helping them developing games so that their games can be exposed to a global audience. So I think it makes sense to also go. It feels like there is a push towards Middle East recently, right? The same
Yes,
you will have the Olympic esports in Saudi. I think there is a mutual interest. Let's put it that way between the.
absolutely. Um, as the world is quote unquote shifting towards the global south, as they say. Interesting enough, I read a piece today on LinkedIn. Xsola just signed a deal with Zavi in Saudi Arabia to one, have a headquarters there, and two, support the local talent through incubation and other programs. So this is interesting. Like multiple companies, and obviously Xsola is like everywhere, even though nobody knows what they do, but they're like everywhere, which is really cool. And I feel like seeing this happen and Savi reaching out to serious companies that could help them like bolster the local talent. I'm really happy about this, and we'll see more about the PlayStation Mina project as well. I'm gonna move over to the rumors. Tom Henderson says we should save money for future handhelds. Who's Tom Henderson?
Thanks, Tom.
Who the hell is Tom Henderson?
It's an insider
Why
apparently.
do you care what I do with my money, Tom?
But I think it's just the one mentioning it. So, but you can probably expect more handheld devices, which is great. It means more PC players, more time to play. So it's I think it's gonna be a trend. It's gonna keep growing, not only with the Steam Deck, but with other device, and hopefully you will have a different price and performance range, right?
Yep. We spoke about this a couple weeks ago when we discussed the Asus something like Steam Deck OS stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And if we have more options, even better.
Yeah.
Steam Deck really cracked it open, and because of the way it is, it means that other people can very easily enter. It's not when Nintendo makes it one of the handhelds, there's no opening for anyone else.
And if I understand correctly, you're not limited to these simple games. You can actually play pretty hardcore games, right?
Yeah, I mean, Steam Deck can handle a lot of modern, fully fledged games, and handle it well.
Awesome.
That's a good one.
Okay. I'm going to skip the PS Pro was an open secret at Gamescom. We already know about that. Last item on the rumors, Konami basically confirms MGS4 is coming to PS5 and Xbox. Basically the least popular Metal Gear, maybe. I don't know. According to me. But is this a remaster, remake? What are we talking about? Do we know?
Not specifically. It's a rumor at this point. I just think as a gamer, it's great that we will get access to older Metal Gear games, because some people started the franchise with the 5, which was the only modern day Metal Gear. I'm all in for remakes, more remakes than remasters, because these games are kind of old. And also, hopefully, we get something great as a new content for Metal Gear. Right?
Remake since Twin Snakes, which was a really long time ago.
We're gonna see. So Twin Snakes was I'm trying to figure out remaster versus remake. Remaster was a remaster, more or less, and then based on the MGS2 engine and gameplay mechanics, and then they're releasing. And I'm sure you've seen the news about that. Let me see. Did you include that in the news, by the way? You did not. Maybe we can add it later. But MGS3, which is getting pretty good reviews, or rather,
good previews.
Previews, thank you. Which is also a bit disappointing in a sense, but because there are still loading screens and they kept a lot of stuff. They didn't touch that parts of the game, which is a bit disappointing in my opinion. But it's a pure remaster, not remake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like Microsoft 3 is old enough that I feel like you could remake it in a true way. But this is Kojima, right? People love Kojima. He's got this reputation as being one of the auteurs, and I think people are understand, especially Konami, who has already caused a lot of problems with Kojima. I think they are very nervous about being seen by their fan base to be compromising Kojima's stuff.
You know what's interesting about MGS3 remake, or remaster? Sorry, it's made by Virtuous. Okay, and Konami's trying to keep it under ropes, and they're just referring to them as the developers, which is okay, obviously. But what I'm trying to get to is, I have a feeling, I had a discussion with a friend. I'm not sure. Did I have a discussion with you guys about this? Anyways, it was somebody else maybe. Which is, I have a feeling that MGS3 remaster is like a test to see how much can we play around with, and can we trust somebody else to play around with this stuff. And if we are successful, then we might be able to actually take the next step. Because ultimately speaking, what should have happened is we need a remaster of MGS1, and just go
remake of MGS1.
Sorry, not remaster, remake. Yeah. Yes, Dave, thank you. We actually need a remake, and take that 2-3 hour gameplay and make it maybe 10 hours. How can you expand that stuff?
I think people would pay $60 for even a 3 hour or solid. Gameplay.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. I would absolutely.
I think that would be a safer and cheaper than actually trying to make a whole lot of new story.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm trying to get to is keep everything in terms of story and all that stuff, and the set pieces. Just expand the spaces, expand the gameplay options, expand the rooms and availabilities. But absolutely, I'm with you, 100%. Yeah. Yes, I would personally. I'm not sure how many Metal Gear stuff I have behind me. I'm trying to always look back here and trying to grab stuff for you, but at the same time, I'm trying to pay attention. So, okay, I'll move over to the numbers, my friends. Steam achieves 37.2 million concurrent players, breaking all previous records. Is this thanks to Wukong?
It's like Wukong definitely contributed a lot, but Steam has been kind of pushing forward gradually, so that's why you see records getting set. Basically, when huge shit happens on Steam, you get new records, I think, because the baseline has continued to move up as well.
I was going to say, kids coming back to school, shouldn't the numbers go down? But I guess I'm wrong.
No, they were doing stuff. Now they're back at school. They need something to do.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the next item. Lego revenue jumps 13% in the first half of 2024, boosted by Lego Fortnite and diverse brick sets. Tell me about this, because I have some really interesting stuff that I want to talk about in relation to Lego, both at Gamescom, but also when you look at the jobs that they're putting out on their website, and the investments they're doing in the gaming space. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think Lego Fortnite is kind of doing well. Players are hungry for more content, right? I think the initial launch, the player ended up finishing the game, let's put it that way, very quickly. But they are committed to expand the universe, right? And whenever there is a special event, it's in the Battle Royale, but it can also be in Lego Fortnite at the same time. So I think it's interesting, and we know that Lego, in the same way as Mattel or Hasbro, they see video game as another source of revenue. So that's just it's good to see that it is mentioned in a earning call somehow.
Absolutely. Sorry, Dave. Again, I had to
move on.
Okay. Sea of Thieves has reportedly sold over 1 million units on PS5. Oh, Sea of Thieves is on PS5 now?
Yeah. I mean, this is the modern era. Like, if you got a game, sell it to people. Doesn't matter where they are. Also, Sea of Thieves rules. So I'm happy that more people get to play Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
I'm equally as happy as you about that, by the way. Because I also saw that they had a booth at Gamescom, and Sea of Thieves has been operating for at least 5 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I remember my first time playing. It's such a weird thing. It's so different than anything I've played before.
2018.
It's just a super fascinating, great game.
Yeah.
And for those who are listening, Dave, So what is Sea of Thieves as a game?
So Sea of Thieves is a pirate game, and basically the essential idea is that you don't drive your ship by saying go this direction, turn left. The ship is a ship, and so you need friends to get together and do it together. So one person needs to let that sail, one person the view, so someone needs to go to check the people when you get into the fight. Someone needs to be giving them to the cabin guy. Someone needs to be down touching poles so you don't sink. All that kind of that's the core idea. It's about operating a ship as an actual ship with different jobs. It requires intense coordination. There's some other interesting stuff going on as well. It sort of uses that same basic idea. Just like with one of it came into conflict when the idea of running that ship effectively, people can do it incredibly effectively if they're serious about it, which sucks because it's not a serious game and I don't want it to be serious. So it's super fun when you're playing with your friends and someone's drinking too much grog and playing accordion on the mast. But then I feel like all video games have a problem when people get good at them. And Sea of Thieves has that problem, definitely, that people got pretty good at it. And if you're facing whatever dweebs are on their galleon and super coordinated, it can be really difficult.
Very, very cool. And I'm really happy again to see both the game, being healthy, but also like being able to see it at events, etc. To this day.
And there are rumors that Starfield and Forza Horizon 5 will come also within 6 months on PlayStation. So I think all Microsoft games will at some point end up on PlayStation. I think.
Too much money on the table to leave out, I guess.
Yeah, and the benefit of remaining exclusive doesn't really exist anymore. It's not, especially for something like Sea of Thieves. It's not selling a ton of consoles. Say it's not great. Obviously, I like it, but it's not selling a ton of consoles.
Okay, gentlemen. I'll move on to the last item on the list. Control hits 19 million players on its 5th anniversary, with free copies making up the majority of the deal. I'm not sure where these free copies are coming from. I'm assuming, is it like PlayStation Plus and these things, or let me know, please.
It's an Epic game, so Epic Game Store has been free. It's been given away a few times already. And I think it was also on some. Check. On PS Plus and Game Pass. Yeah, so it's been everywhere. So basically, apparently, they sold about 4 million units out of the 19 million. And I mean, it won a lot of prizes, right? Game of the Year and many things. So it's a really good game. It's not on Steam. Important detail.
Why is that?
Because it's a Rock what's the name, Remedy game, which is linked to Epic, right? You don't have Max Payne, or you don't have Alan Wake on Steam neither for that reason.
I have not noticed.
And but that's a problem when you want to play Alan Wake, which was also kind of a Game of the Year quality level. It's that you want to play on PC, you can only play it on the Epic Game Store.
But is that an exclusivity deal, or is that...
Yes. Okay. No, it's just Remedy is linked to Epic.
Are they owned by Epic?
I don't know exactly, but there is like a preferential treatment.
Okay. Dave, we have your keyboard again.
No, I'm googling it. It's active keyboard. It's part of the narrative that
absolutely. I'll allow it.
Epic is backing Remedy, according to Wikipedia. They split profits 50-50.
And it's also, Remedy is partially owned by Tencent in the same way as Epic is. So they have strong links. And my point was that even one of the best game of the year, single player, only sold 4 million units, right? That's just that's not a lot for a great game. So you wonder when you are building your single player game, which is not open world, because that one is not open world. How many units can you sell, right? You cannot sell 15 million units unless you have a very big IP. But other than that, it's very challenging to make millions of units with a single player game these days.
Let's see what Harry Potter sold. You hear my keyboard?
Open world.
I'm
It's
just
open
checking.
The research keyboard.
20
The
million or
research
24
keyboard.
million.
How much?
20 million, 24 million, maybe.
Yeah, so like I said, IP.
Yeah.
By the way, Harry Potter, is that a single player game, like a fully single, or does it have any multiplayer elements?
Nope. Straight up.
It's
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, gentlemen, I think we have reached the end of the news. We've been doing this for an hour. I would love to do like 2-3 more hours, but I'm assuming you have other things to do. So I'm going to target, and Manu, don't take this the wrong way, I'm going to target Dave specifically to stay around. Yeah. I'll let you decide if you want to hang out. I think the next segment that I want to do is basically just like, decompress from Gamescom and like speak about some of the things we saw. Dave, sorry, you're pointing. What's up?
Yeah, I gotta give these kids some food.
Oh, come on, man. You know the kids are not as important as this.
It's the world in which the kids exist.
So, I guess you gotta go then. Manu, do you want to stay or do you want to... What's the situation? Do you have kids?
Yes, but they are
hungry.
Okay, yeah. Okay. So but in that case, yeah?
I can listen to what you have to say, but I was not there, so I would have limited input.
In that case, I think it's going to be smarter than to... We'll cut it here. We'll
do it next time. Everyone's still 2 Gamescom down. Next time we'll have the benefit of hindsight and distance.
Absolutely, Dave.
That's what we'll have. Okay.
Or we just record another episode just dedicated to Gamescom. Yes. Okay. I think it's reasonable. I love you guys, and I think we've already taken so much of your time already. But really good stuff. I'm so happy that we're continuing to do this, and I'm really looking forward for us to continue to do this throughout this year and then next year. Obviously, Manu, I know you're a fan of this stuff. We need to do like a end of year thing. Like I know you want to do a newsletter about that. That's on your agenda. But maybe we do like another show. Also, I actually think that it's probably reasonable now to start uploading these to YouTube. I don't know what this is going to do for us, but I feel like that's the next step for us.
Sure.
Okay. With that being said, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me. Everybody who's listening in, thank you so much for joining us. And if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, it's mightydiamonds.substack.com, mighty.diamonds for our website. LinkedIn, you can find both Manu. You have to spell his name, Emmanuel Rosier. Dave is, David there. Me, just Casey. And I guess I'll see you on the next one. Stick around for the upload. Stick around for the upload. Okay. Have a nice one, guys.